Hello, good evening. It is 5:15, so here I am, ready for some live meditation with you. And wherever you are, whatever time or place you're watching this, it's great to have you here. And it's a bit of a contrast to last night when I was out here, because last night it was really grey and cold, but it is still freezing. So I don't know if you can see, it's a beautiful sunny evening, and I don't know, it's hard to know how well this picks up, but the sun is just glorious on the reeds today. Hi Zoe, how are you? And yeah, it's lovely to be outside even when it's freezing. I have actually brought a blanket out with me so that I don't completely freeze while I'm out here, especially because I'm still recovering from being poorly this week. And I do feel an awful lot better. But it's amazing how much a virus does take it out of you, actually. I'd forgotten how you get that tiredness for quite a long time. So this morning I was doing really well, and suddenly at lunchtime I hit the wall and I just thought, oh gosh, I need to have a sleep. So I had a little sleep. But I thought I'd start before as people are joining. And hi Annabelle. And I thought I would tell you a story in a minute of something funny that happened to me this morning. So Miss Milky is out here with me, so she will probably come bombing past any second. Zoe, you know what Milky's like, how much she bombs around. And now as people, I'm going to go and find my little seating spot, sleeping. I know, right Annabelle? I know. Well, luckily my daughter's not feeling very well either, so she was feeling very quiet in her room, and my teenage son, he was nowhere to be seen either, because his school, they've already set schoolwork, so they finished on Thursday. By Friday they had all their work online, and they've got a timetable and work set in each lesson slot. And he's got Saturday school still, and his sister hasn't. So you can imagine she was really smug this morning. So he was busy doing his work, and I just went and had a little nap. It was really lovely. But this morning I started to put back into place my morning routine, because I've been poorly, so I haven't. And one of the things I do in the morning is I do just a tiny bit of yoga. And I have my kind of commitment to myself is that I just get on the mat, even if all I do is just a couple of rounds of sun salutations, which is just the basic sequence. But this morning I thought, I did a sort of a few different things, and then I thought I'll just do a headstand, because I quite like a headstand to just give you a bit of energy. I like that kind of being upside down. I didn't used to, actually. That's another story for another day. But so I kind of went upside down, and I suddenly had this sensation of almost like not being able to sense myself in space, and there I was, just sort of upside down, and then suddenly I had this sensation of I'm gonna go, and literally I just toppled over, and I landed on Milky. I landed on the dog. She was in her dog bed, and there was this, it was almost like that slow motion thing where you just suddenly you can feel yourself going, you know you can't stop it, and then you're just gone. And afterwards I was thinking and reflecting about what this week's been like, and I thought, gosh, it feels like that same sense of being out of control and just that kind of toppling into the unknown, and actually I was fine, and it was actually quite funny, but I had no idea what I was gonna land on, how it was gonna go. It wasn't the most elegant, Annabelle, but it kind of reminded me how we have this sense that we have control, and we hold on to that control really tightly. And I know that I definitely try and hold on to that control really tightly, and that when that kind of gets ripped away from us, and suddenly we realise that we don't have control, and that it can all just fall over, like has happened this week, it can feel incredibly disorienting. And I think that's probably one of the overwhelming things I felt this week, is just really disoriented by the things that have been happening. And so in terms of in my meditation tonight, I don't know if you can hear the geese coming back down. They don't know Milky's out here, so they're not going to be out here for long. Hi Lexi. So one of the things I invite you to think about as we meditate tonight is, can you let go of the need to control? Can you just loosen the grip just a tiny bit and just feel what that feels like? Because that tendency to want to control extends to everything. And often I find that in our meditation practice, you start to see the patterns of what's happening and playing out in your life. So that tendency to control, and it's really interesting when you start to notice that and actually consciously put your attention on that, how you can start to believe it and start to be able to be okay with not having control. And those are the kind of small shifts that start to happen when you meditate regularly, and it's those shifts that are the thing that change things. So it's not necessarily the moment of the meditation practice itself. So anyway, that was enough of me about me falling on my head this morning. In terms of our meditation today, I will share what I share every day, which is two things. So firstly, don't expect to not think, because your mind is the thinking machine, and it doesn't mean that your meditation isn't working, because actually all we're doing is observing what's happening, and the moment of noticing, that's the crucial bit. So as long as you notice that that your mind's gone off, or you've been distracted by sensations in the body or feelings, as soon as you notice and you come back, that's the point where you're training the brain. That's where you're training yourself to stay where you choose to place your attention, without trying to control it and force it, but just allowing it. So let's get ourselves comfortable. So wherever you are, whether you've got a blanket like me, or if you're inside somewhere lovely and warm, just get yourself, so ideally having your lower back supported and not having your head resting back for this particular type of meditation, because we're aiming to stay active but relaxed. So we don't want to kind of go full on relaxed and slipping into sleep. We also don't want to be really rigid and holding ourselves upright. So we want to find that happy place between the two. So other than that, there's no special postures at all. And just gently closing down the eyes whenever you're ready. Just becoming aware of the breath and the body, and probably even hearing the sounds in the background. And it's just an invitation to you to stop and turn inwards, just for a moment. And taking your awareness to everything that you can hear right now, in this moment. Becoming aware of the sounds in the room and beyond the room. Perhaps even aware of the sounds where I am. Just noticing that there's the sounds, and then there's your awareness of the sounds. And trying to not get caught up with those sounds. So if your mind wanders and suddenly you're not hearing the sounds anymore, just coming back. And then taking that awareness and placing it on the very tips of the fingers now. So just gently resting your attention just on the tips of the fingers. Just noticing what sensations you can feel there. And after a moment, you might notice a gentle humming or tingling in the fingers, like a vibration or humming. That's your nervous system responding to your attention. Your fingers preparing for movement. A conversation that we don't normally hear when we're focusing outwards. If your mind's already taking you away with thoughts or sensations, just coming back to the very tips of the fingers. You might still be aware of sounds or thoughts, but your focus is on the fingertips. And seeing if you can add your toes to that awareness. So now your fingers and your toes are in your awareness. Perhaps you can feel that same tingling in the toes. Maybe you feel it more in the fingers. That's okay, and maybe you don't feel any sensation, and that's okay too. Often if we're focusing outwards and we're disconnected from our body a lot, then it's harder to tune into that conversation, and that's okay. Just keep your focus on the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes. Coming back anytime you're distracted. And allowing that sensation to spread up the ankles and the calves, up to the knees, along the thighs, into the hips. Perhaps noticing the chair or the floor underneath you. Noticing if there's a heaviness or a lightness to the legs. And then from the hands, travelling along the forearms to the crook of the arm, up the tops of the arms to the shoulders, across the chest, down into the belly. Your whole body in your awareness now. Just noticing what that feels like. Perhaps noticing the cheeks, the eye sockets, the tongue in the mouth. Maybe there's a deeper feeling of relaxation just beginning to emerge in the body. An opening. A feeling of letting go. And if the mind is distracted, just coming back and gently setting an intention to be here. I am exactly where I planned to be. There is nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. This is it. This moment is all that's real. And the body is our connection to that moment. And taking your awareness now to the breath. Being curious about where you feel the breath today. Is it where that cool air enters the nostrils or the mouth? Maybe is that rise and fall of the chest or the belly. Just notice wherever's the most prominent today and allow your attention to settle there. Just gently using the breath as an anchor. As things come up in the body and the mind, coming back to the breath as that way to just settle into this moment. Whatever comes up, just allowing it to pass through and you come back. And there might be a sense of control of the breath. Putting your attention there means that your mind thinks you want to control it. So it almost becomes momentarily difficult. And if that happens, just notice. See if you can let go of the need to regulate or control, and just allow the breath to come and go. No effort or trying. And we'll add a tool to help us anchor, a labeling of the breath. So whenever we breathe in, just labeling it rising, gently and softly in the mind. When you breathe out, falling. Rising, falling. Just labeling the rhythm as it comes, not trying to regulate the breath or change it. Just becoming aware of that raw experience of the breath as it happens. Rising, falling. The body's breathing for you. Body's breathing, you are just watching. Rising, falling. Rising, falling. And every time you get distracted by anything that comes up, just knowing that that is the practice, the noticing, even if it's over and over. There's no good or bad. There's no pass or fail. There's just noticing. Giving yourself this time. Rising, falling. And take some moments of silence as you continue to label gently the breath. That rising and falling. Beginning to allow the breath to deepen again now. Feeling the chest expanding a little bit more with each breath. Letting go of that labeling. Just knowing that you can use that labeling any time in your day when things become overwhelming. Just labeling the rise and fall of your breath as that anchor. And taking 3 bigger than usual breaths. Letting the breath return to normal. Opening out to your hearing again, just to hear what's happening in your space. Returning movement to the fingers and the toes with your eyes still closed. And then whenever you're ready, just gently blinking open the eyes. Just noticing how that feels as the world reappears in this moment. Taking time to just be with whatever you've cultivated in that time together. And wherever you are tonight, I hope that it's a peaceful one and that all of the unsettled things that have happened this week can just begin to land and feel a bit more normal. Take care and have a good night, and I will be here tomorrow.